Deep in the forests of the Czech Republic stands Houska Castle, a fortress unlike any other. Built in the 13th century, its architecture is baffling. It was constructed not to defend against invaders but to seal something in. The castle sits on a cliff overlooking a deep, bottomless pit, known locally as the gateway to hell. Legends say that long before the castle was built, the pit was a place of strange and sinister activity. Locals reported hearing unearthly howls from its depths at night and seeing winged creatures emerging from the darkness, terrorizing nearby villages. Fearing what lay below, the villagers sought help from the king, who ordered the pit to be sealed with stone and mortar. Houska Castle was built directly over the pit, with no kitchen, water source, or defensive structures, clear evidence it was never meant to be lived in. At its center, a chapel was constructed, its altar placed directly above the pit to keep the evil below contained. But the pit's darkness was not so easily silenced. According to 17th century records, the castle's first occupants reported horrifying phenomena. At night, the walls echoed with guttural growls. Ghostly figures, half human and half demonic, roamed the halls, their faces twisted with rage and sorrow. One servant swore he saw glowing eyes staring back at him from the pit, though no creature could be seen. One of the most chilling tales comes from the construction of the castle itself. To test the depth of the pit, prisoners sentenced to death were offered a pardon if they agreed to be lowered into it. The first man who accepted the offer was lowered by rope. Moments later, he began to scream uncontrollably. When they pulled him back up, his hair had turned white, and his face was frozen in an expression of pure terror. He died hours later, mumbling incoherently about clawed hands and endless darkness. In the 1930s, during World War II, Houska Castle fell under Nazi occupation. They were said to have conducted experiments within the castle, possibly attempting to use the pit for occult purposes. After the war, locals discovered the remains of mutilated bodies and strange symbols etched into the walls of the chapel. Whatever the Nazis had tried to summon, they failed to control it. Visitors to Houska Castle today still report chilling encounters. Some claim to hear scratching noises beneath the floor of the chapel, as if something is trying to escape. Others have seen shadowy figures darting through the forest around the castle, only to vanish into thin air. One recurring story is that of a black-winged creature with glowing red eyes, set to perch on the castle walls at dusk, watching anyone who dares approach. The bravest visitors who peer into the pit describe it as an abyss that seems to pull at their very soul, as if the darkness itself is alive and hungry. Its purpose was never to protect humans from the outside. It was built to protect the world from the horrors below. But for how long can the darkness remain contained?